Hey guys, we're now in the Subaru Solterra and I'm going to take you guys on a drive. If you haven't seen the full review, I'm going to go take you guys on a quick tour of the exterior before we go take this thing on a drive. We have it here finished in this metallic white finish right here, and we're in the touring specification, which is the most expensive Solterra I believe you can get right now, around $56,000. It looks pretty interesting. We have fog lights up front, full LED headlights over here as well. The paint actually is quite nice, I have to say, with quality and everything. It's just a full weird looking with those giant plastic fenders. Subaru does want you to be able to take this kind of like in all environments too. So there is like over 8 inches of ground clearance. You have Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive, I guess, system here. I guess it's more of a software-based tuning for the system with X mode. A lot of that cool stuff. Really cool stuff going on the rear end as well, with these kind of fins sticking out for this aerodynamics. You can also see some pretty interesting active aerodynamics, well, not active, but static aerodynamics under here as well, with almost like a diffuser situation going on there. Obviously a flat floor with a battery underneath. Kind of a spoiler back there as well. Really steep raked roof line. And inside we do have, oh, here's our charging port, of course. Really huge door for your charging port. And inside we do have the touring specification interior. So we're going to get this kind of like blue and slate gray style material on the seats that are perforated, heated and cooled up front, heated out back, and this crazy looking interior space. So let's go hop in now and take this thing on the drive. Door clunk doesn't feel super premium either, guys. I'm just gonna note that there, but this interior is a wacky space, I do have to say, and it doesn't drive too bad. So let's start this up for now. The vehicle is on already, as I showed you guys before, and to put it into drive, you push this lever down. Now you're neutral if you want, or you can just go quick action and turn it right to the drive right there. We can pop it to the left for reverse. You get these reversing cameras popping up. And then park is this big button over here. You also have a regular mirror or a digital camera mirror, whatever you prefer. And these cameras are pretty cool. With the 360 camera, you can kind of do this weird view that kind of plays a little video for you, but you can't control it yourself. You kind of just pause it if you want. But a weird system, but they're pretty high resolution cameras at the end of the day. So popping into drive, doors lock on you, and we can head off. Now, this has around 215-ish horsepower, 250-ish pound-feet of torque in that area. And so it's not the most powerful thing for your money. You're definitely going to get more power out of the competition and more range out of the competition too. So since we are in the touring specification, we do get larger wheels, and that means the EPA estimated range drops down to 222-ish miles versus the 228 that the regular Solterras technically are supposed to achieve. The range ometer here says 268. It's at 270 before, but you have to remember this vehicle is brand new. It has 13 miles on the clock, so I wouldn't trust that to be super accurate right now. Now we do have 3 different drive modes. So we're in normal, I believe now. And you got a power mode. It's pretty nippy actually, and we have eco mode as well. In these drive modes, you do have adjustable regenerative braking with these paddle shifters on the steering wheel, so you can kind of see these little pylons right here. I can adjust to like 4 or 5 different settings of regen braking. I believe this is your 1-pedal driving function. It's right here, this quick access button. You have auto brake hold as well. And like I said before, Subaru's kind of X mode system for snow and dirt, deep snow, mud, and that kind of adjusts all the traction and power settings. Let's put it in power mode right now. Let's see what it feels like under acceleration. It's pretty quick actually. It's not super slow. It's an EV, so you're gonna get that instant power right off the line. But coming out of course, the EV6 GT, I've been destroyed by everything. So that thing's just like, it's destroyed every vehicle for me because it's so crazy powerful. But I have to say, acceleration off the line for this is actually pretty quick. Now, one of the areas where I'm actually gonna have to give the Subaru Solterra a bad score is wind noise. This thing's actually quite windy. Well, quite windy, but I've heard a lot of wind noise on the exterior, especially at like 50 to 60 miles an hour, especially coming around with these side mirrors, as well as kind of the rear 3/4 panel area. I've heard a lot of wind noise going on over there. I have to give props to the eGMP architecture family, so the ioniq 5 and the EV6. Those are really quiet vehicles in the interior, so that's one thing I have noticed in this Solterra right here. But cruising around town, I have to say the suspension is quite fantastic. It soaks up bumps pretty well. I'd be curious to see the smaller wheels to see if they do even better, but it's very soft and very compliant. I think they did a really good job on the suspension tuning, and I think they've managed the weight significantly well enough that it kind of works with the suspension to kind of help dampen out those bumps at the same time. Also, I have to give big props to the control and steering of the Solterra. It's very direct, actually. There's a lot of control of the vehicle, and you don't feel like there's a lot of play or looseness going on in the steering. So it's a very Subaru-esque steering experience. So if you're familiar with Subarus, I think you're actually going to be quite at home here, and it feels a lot better than any Toyota I've driven, actually. So good job on the steering for this. It's not anything sporty or like very like super connected, but it's a very confident, inspiring steering experience, I will have to say. So I'm going to give them some props to the steering department there. Now, of course, this does have dual motor all-wheel drive as well, so you're going to get that traction when you need it, and it can send up to 60% of that power, I think, to the rear wheels when you need it as well. And there's a variety of different kind of traction and like off-road slip settings if you do need those as well. So I'm happy kind of Subaru kind of implemented that. My real biggest complaints are in here are the interior quality and material choices. Like this gloss plaque is disgusting. This car is literally brand new, and just look at the center console. Like, I don't want to look at that, and I also don't have to be cleaning it every single time. It's just kind of annoying. And they put it in the worst places. Like, in this place, this whole area is going to be constantly touched. In this whole area, it's constantly going to be touched too. It's kind of annoying to me. I mean, I guess if you need to get fingerprints off of someone steers a vehicle, it's really easy to find them, but it's just kind of annoying that they did that. Also is this screen setup here. I have not been able to find a comfortable situation for my seating position of this steering wheel where I want it to be, and to a point where I'm able to see this display. I have to kind of like reach over to see the full display. I think they've realized this is an issue as they kind of exclude all information below this kind of line right here where my hand is. So I don't know. It seems like a quick kind of like design they went with and didn't really think too much about it. This needs to be changed, I'm going to be really honest. And compared to some of the competitors, this display is very basic in its functionality, and I guess its usage, it's very complex and annoying, I think, to me personally. There's way too many like hidden menus that you kind of have to know where they are to get to them. There's a lot of different like buttons and settings to go through. I think are a little bit redundant. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with this, but I think this needs to have a whole rethink of how it's operating there. The infotainment system is fine, but it's just a little bit basic and limited. Like the screens works well. Obviously you're gonna end up usually just using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto wirelessly. You can see my phone's charging right here right now, and this weird little charging door that's actually kind of see-through in some angles. There's already scratches on this too, which is crazy to me. And like I said before in the full review, there's no glove box, so you just have this flat space right here, and you can shove stuff down here if you want to, or in the center console piece. But there's no there is no lockable storage in the Solterra, which I'm not sure if is a good thing or not. I think people might be turned away by that. We do have heated and ventilated seats right here. Right, you can see that in the operation. We have a heated steering wheel with 2 stages and an auto function, which is interesting. You have your trip controls on this side over here, air vents, of course, as well. And yeah, it's pretty much of a basic interior in here. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this space just yet. And I know it's a little bit roomier in here with these panoramic roof in this touring model, so you get a little bit more light coming into the interior. And of course, this is a nice function where you are able to actually close the shade on it. A lot of vehicles don't allow you to do that. It's kind of open all the time, and it's really quick in its operation too. I've never seen a sunshade that closes and opens that quickly before. It's pretty impressive. Otherwise, this interior, it's a downside. It's a downside. As that also goes to the charging of this vehicle too, which we'll get into in a little bit. And I do have to say though, if you are looking for this vehicle, you almost kind of have to look at in it as a bubble. If you're like a dedicated Subaru driver and you really want to keep in the Subaru lineup, but you also want an EV, I could definitely see this being for you. If you're gonna charge at home most of the time, you have a good network and everything, you'll be fine. I just, once you start kind of like driving the competition and looking at the competition, I'm not even talking about Tesla. We're not even getting into the Model Y. I'm talking about the ioniq 5, the EV6, the Aria, the ID4. I just don't know if this is as competitive as those are going to be able to get you. You're going to get faster charging times, you're going to get more range, you're going to get, and often at a little bit of a cheaper price point than this is coming in at, which is even more kind of a reason to like why would you choose a Solterra over those. So I think the customer base for this might be a little bit limited, and I think either their supply restraints are kind of attacking them, or they're noticing this kind of like demand drop, I guess, for this vehicle, and they're not making that many for the first year. I believe the production's around 3,000 or 6,000. I keep getting that number mixed up in my head. I'm gonna put the right one for you guys right there, but I don't know what's going on with this car. I know it's their first EV. I know there's still stuff coming down the road, and it's fine around town. Like, there's nothing wrong with really the driving experience. It's nippy when you need it to be. The suspension's pretty compliant. There is a little bit more road and wind noise than I would kind of want in an EV, especially after, like I said, driving the competitors. You're gonna notice that here versus those. But if this is the only thing you're gonna be driving, I think it's a fantastic experience. It's one of the most refined, I guess, quote unquote, Subarus I've ever driven in terms of ride quality, and the steering is still pretty fantastic, I think, actually, on this thing for what it is. I don't know if I personally would not put my money into this vehicle at all. You can't get the federal tax credit either, as it's not built in the United States, so you're limited on that aspect as well. So you're gonna have to pay full price for this, which is $56,000, and other vehicles are gonna be able to take opportunity of that tax credit. So if that's a big other factor to you, you might want to look somewhere else as well. I also think there's a big learning curve with this whole thing, driver system going on over here. It's really confusing to me. And I'm usually pretty good at intuitive systems, but I wouldn't call this an intuitive system at all. I like buttons, but these buttons are just all over the place, and you're gonna have to get used to them a little bit. There's this interesting blend of touch buttons and physical buttons, and I don't know if it's just me complaining on just being in it for the first time, but I have been around this vehicle for the past 3 months, and it's still not getting in the system with me there. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. But like I said, it's a first attempt at this, and I wish they could have done better. I wish they could have done a little bit better. That was a risky left turn that person just did. Wow. But, you know, this is coming from someone who I like more aggressive performance-y style vehicles. And I have to say, as a daily vehicle, I think this is, like I said, it's fine. It drives well, it's smooth, the steering's fine, the suspension's fine. Visibility is pretty good in here. You have a very steep front area right there, so you can kind of like look straight down. I will say this screen actually blocks some of your visibility up front a little bit, so that might be a little bit of a letdown there. Makes a cool acceleration sound. It's not, I don't even think that's in the speakers. I think that's the actual motors making that sound, which is pretty cool. Like I said, steering is pretty sharp. And it's nippy enough around town. It's not, if you're looking for something that's gonna be quick and like speedy, this is not the car for you. But I mean, this is the Solterra, and this is our first drive of it. So I'm excited to see, I guess, what they're going to be coming out with in the future. I'm more curious to actually drive other new products from Toyota's end, like their hybrids with the Prius, the new Hybrid Max powertrain, versus these first generation EV attempts, because I think that could be a lot better in their execution. So if you are looking at the Solterra, I'm sorry if I just destroyed it for you guys, but I would definitely check it out in person. It's definitely something to look at and kind of get experience and a feel for first before buying other EVs. But it's an interesting first attempt from the company, and yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So thank you guys for joining me on this POV drive of the Subaru Solterra, and stay tuned, of course, for a lot more content coming from Allcarnews in the future. Cheers.